It has been called nature's grand cathedral. Yosemite Valley is one tiny spot on the planet where the dynamic forces of nature are focused like sunlight passing through a lens. A land of powerful change, where the elements of sun and stone, fire and ice, collide and harmonize in astonishing ways. A place where most who visit sense the presence of a spirit. And beyond the sheer cliffs of Yosemite Valley, there exist other realms, other domains, each one unique, each one supporting a distinct community of living things, each one moved and shaped by the same spirit. The spirit of Yosemite. Yosemite National Park is much more than 1,200 square miles of scenic beauty. It is a vibrant tapestry of life, where each strand is a puff of wind, a falling leaf, plant, animal, or human being. In Yosemite, the tapestry is never finished. Every passing season ignites a new cycle of life. The changes can be dramatic and pronounced, delicate and subtle. Every plant, every animal, and every season has a rhythm. All of them resonate together in a symphony. And every dawn marks a new beginning. Yosemite is indeed a living place. A place that is constantly changing. And change is the spirit of Yosemite. While the birth and death of an insect may pass within a few hours, the life cycle of a giant sequoia can span more than 2,000 years. The outside world would not discover the giant trees until the 1850s. Galen Clark was one of the first settlers to visit the Mariposa Grove, just 30 miles from Yosemite Valley. In time, these trees would spark a revolutionary idea. In 1848, gold was discovered less than 100 miles from Yosemite. Thousands of fortune hunters flocked to the mountains of California. And with them came a very different kind of change. In Yosemite Valley and the Mariposa Grove of big trees, Galen Clark saw incomparable natural beauty which had to be protected. Clark was not alone. In the 1860s, he was among a group of influential Californians who brought the beauty of Yosemite to the attention of the United States Congress. On June 30th, 1864, President Abraham Lincoln took a moment from the brutality of the Civil War and signed the Yosemite Grant. For the first time in history, the national government had set aside a wild place to preserve its scenic beauty and to protect the living things within its borders. Galen Clark became the first guardian of America's first wilderness park. Some of the giant sequoias that inspired Clark took root when Cleopatra ruled over Egypt. By almost any standard, an impressive measure of time. But when contemplating the dramatic forces which lifted and shaped Yosemite's mountains, it is a blink of an eye. Yosemite is the heart of the Sierra Nevada, a single block of stone 400 miles long and up to 80 miles wide. The granite peaks that now tower more than 13,000 feet above sea level began their journey as molten rock miles below the surface. The uplift in the Sierra started more than 20 million years ago. The mountains are still rising, about a foot every 1,000 years. As the mountains advanced, the planet grew cooler, until snow and ice filled in the river canyons and valleys. Winter after winter, the weight and pressure increased until the ice began to move. The hand of the first glacier was set free to carve the face of Yosemite. There have been at least 3 major episodes of ice in Yosemite. Some 20,000 years ago, the last glaciers began to melt. In their wake, the glaciers left behind a detailed chronicle of the epic battle waged between ice and stone. Massive boulders, once carried within the ice, were dropped like pebbles. Broad expanses of granite were polished to a mirror finish, one that remains smooth to the touch. Immense valleys rimmed with sheer cliffs were cut from the bedrock. Weak stone was ground to rubble. The strongest survived the crushing onslaught of ice. Far more than monumental scenery, Half Dome and El Capitan mark the most important battles within Yosemite's ever-changing drama. Deep depressions carved from the granite eventually filled with water. Streams and creeks swept down sand and gravel, giving birth to lush meadows and finally, deep forest. Fire and ice, water and stone. Profound and delicate change brought forth the spirit of Yosemite. The once barren rock was now teeming with life. In 1868, a young naturalist began to read the story written in the rocks of Yosemite. His name was John Muir. He arrived shortly after Abraham Lincoln had signed the Yosemite Grant, and he kept coming back for the next 40 years.
Life seems neither long nor short, and we take no more heed to save time or make haste than do the trees and stars. This is true freedom, a good practical sort of immortality.
In Muir's time, only the Mariposa Grove and Yosemite Valley were protected. He came to understand that these were more than two distinct islands of beauty. They were two links in an unbroken chain of life which stretched from the highest mountain peak to the lowest foothill.
When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe.
Muir realized that without protecting the surrounding wilderness, the preservation of these two crown jewels could never be assured. Muir dedicated his life to the creation of a grand national park. His writings rallied others to the cause, and on October 1st, 1890, Yosemite's boundaries were dramatically enlarged. The national park was now more than 1,000 square miles and included the watersheds of two major rivers. Yosemite National Park is the lasting legacy of John Muir. John Muir lent an eloquent voice to the spirit of Yosemite. But his was not the first. Long before the first millennium, human beings arrived in Yosemite Valley. Different cultures would come and go, but in time, a people known as Awanichi would call Yosemite home. Like other Native Americans, they were decimated by the outside world. What little is known has been passed down by a few survivors. The Awanichi possessed a keen understanding of the natural forces which ruled their lives. Every autumn, they set fire to Yosemite's meadows to encourage the growth of grasses, which were important for food and basket weaving. It was human beings who preserved the broad vistas which made Yosemite famous. Like every other force of nature before them, the Awanichi changed Yosemite forever. Yosemite's first people also knew that they were not alone. The granite spires and waterfalls were home to spirits. What is now called El Capitan is Tultacanula, the place where two bear cubs fell asleep and were lifted high above the valley. Half Dome is Tessiac, the face of a young woman stained with tears. And Bridal Veil Fall is Puhunu, a foreboding place where the voices of those who have drowned can still be heard. Thus, the Awanichi became the first people to lend a human voice to the spirit of Yosemite. In time, other voices would be heard.
Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their freshness into you and the storms their energy, while cares drop off like autumn leaves.
Thanks to those who walked here long ago, the spirit of Yosemite still reverberates in every rock and waterfall. Every canyon and every peak. It is at hand. Here. Now. If you walk quietly and listen carefully, you too can touch the same timeless spirit. The spirit of Yosemite.